Hey guys, welcome back to the Girlfriends and Goals podcast. My name is Samaria and I'm joined by my best friend and co-host.
Miosha.
And today we're reviewing Married at First Sight, season 18, episode 4. So if you are watching this show, please make sure that you give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and meet us in the comments to let us know what you think about these couples. I thought this was a really good episode. And
I
I'm
agree.
appreciating the speed of the season.
I think we needed a break. I even messaged Samaria like, wait, what's the order again? They meet the family, then the honeymoon. It's been a while, but I am
Mhm.
so happy with the speed in which we're
Yeah.
moving. It makes it more enjoyable.
Absolutely. Usually we would just be coming off the weddings. Like this would be the last wedding episode. And it's like, okay, enough. All right. But let's get into it. We'll start off with the couple that had, I guess, the least, which is
Hmm.
Thomas and Camille.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
don't,
know. I'm liking them. They seem to be very stable and even keel.
yes, I can see their energy being in sync with Camille just being more outgoing.
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
they talk about this 10-year age gap, which I remember you mentioned it about them early on and how you were feeling like, I don't know if this is the right match with her
Hmm.
being 32, him being 42. But she claims that she's dated a 41-year-old man before and that she likes the idea of an older man because they may have it a bit more together and may be a little
Hmm.
bit more mature. Sometimes I'd say it
Right.
depends because you could have a young 42-year-old or
Hmm.
an actual 42-year-old. He said that he was concerned because he wants to have kids soon, which I was
Hmm.
actually happy to hear him express concerns about that because I feel like men can sometimes feel like they have an unlimited biological time clock, which technically might be the case, but it may not be ideal to just wait and wait and wait to
Yeah,
at least try to have one child.
I thought he was mostly talking about it with her though,
Hmm.
because she's so young. Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
she's so young, she might not be ready. But I think 30s is pretty
Well,
good
more
of
so
an
for
age
him, he was like, "Oh, well, I'm already older," and
Mhm.
so ideally for him, he wouldn't want to wait 5 to 8 years
To have a yeah,
to
but
at
she
least
might.
attempt to have a child.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, I put that. I think I can tell Thomas is really liking Camille. Like certain things
hmm.
that he said, I'm like, okay, he's very into her specifically, not just, oh, I want a wife and now this person is filling that spot, but I think he's really sweet on her. And I'm loving it for her because, she's talked about wanting this fairy tale. And of course, a fairy tale doesn't exist, but healthy and happy love does. And so I'm
Hmm.
really, really hoping that he's it for her.
And when they were packing to leave for the honeymoon, where she
Mhm.
bought out her little lingerie, because I was wondering, okay, what's her thoughts on it as far as being attracted to him? And the fact
Mhm.
that she even bought that up shows that she's interested and open to it. Maybe just waiting for him to make the first move.
Yeah, and because of their, I guess, even keeled nature, we didn't necessarily see if they had a physical chemistry. So
Hmm.
I think it was nice to see, okay, not only are they getting along personality wise, but there's some maybe physical attraction and there's a romantic vibe between them. One of the things I wrote down, she said, my sister thought you were like 30 or 32. I said, now, Camille. Mm. All right. So next.
I mean, he is a nice looking man, and you
Like
can tell he
38. I would say 38,
yeah, he
but
does
not
take care of
32.
himself. I wouldn't say 32, but you could
Hmm.
tell he does take care of himself. So he looks nice.
Okay. So he was honest about when they met with the families. He was honest about like shutting down, and he mentioned that if she shuts down, he really doesn't know how he'll respond. He said that that's not his strong suit. So
Hmm.
that's something that could be concerning, but I'm glad that it's out on the table now. So maybe they can try to prevent that from happening, where both of them are shutting down at the same time.
because she at least her sisters also described something similar. So I was thinking, okay, someone's going to have to be open and talked. But I appreciate it with him in that, and maybe this comes with him being older, the therapy where he knows this about himself. I
Yeah.
think a bigger challenge would be, this is how he is, and this is his first time realizing, or he's never realized it as a problem. So
Yeah.
hopefully it can help him be more focused on doing the opposite of what he's usually done. And
Mhm.
I sense this hunger in him, for at least so far, for really wanting this to work.
Same.
Yeah. He also,
I
oh, go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
I was going to say, he talked about his him working on his vulnerability. And so it
Hmm.
seems like he's actually done a lot of reflecting in the last 4 years, which y'all were right. It had only been 4 years since he broke up with his ex. But I also like how her dad was like, nice
Same.
meeting you. You seem
But
cool, but I still got my eye on you.
yeah,
Actions speak louder than words. And I love it. I feel more men in this type of process and loveless bind should have that same type of energy. Don't let these people get too comfortable too soon.
right. And he was respectful. He got to know him. That was the thing I liked about both of their families. Like they got to know the person. Um, Camille seemed to really vibe with his family. Like I could tell they
Hmm.
really like her. And I
Yes.
loved seeing their meeting. I think she liked them too. They were very warm. They gave enough information about him, but also gave her space to share how she is. So
Hmm.
I love. I don't know, I'm liking them a little too much. You know, with MAFS, you got to be hesitant with who you like.
And you
But
can tell his brother is also hungry for this to work for him too. Where it's
yeah,
like, okay, we tired of him being single. You done drug it all the way out to 42. Give us a niece or nephew ASAP.
yeah, yeah. Now, the advice that they gave was, obviously he needs somebody to bring out the fun, and she seemed up for the challenge. She seemed
Hmm.
like ready to bring out the fun side of him. They mentioned that he doesn't take harsh criticism well. Like his brother said, he can joke, but harsh criticism, which I mean, I'm not surprised. I feel like that's people in general, but especially men. Like if they feel like they're being criticized, that
Hmm.
could have a negative effect on how they could give a negative response. So
Yeah, and I think everyone should just be mindful of how you say things to people. It's not always what you say, it's how you say
how
it.
you say it. Oof.
Michelle's family.
But that I feel like that's a lesson with life because I could think about times in my early 20s where I would just, thinking that these people know I care about them, I would just
Hmm.
say something, just knowing, oh, of course they don't think I mean any harm. Of course it's not going to hurt them because they know I love them. But it's like, no, because they know you love them and because they love you, it hurts even more when your delivery is off. So that's
Like,
a
girl, why you
lesson.
coming at me like that?
Right. And then, there are people who are like, well, it's just tough love. Don't give
It
me
don't have
tough
to be
love.
tough.
Give me the soft
Mm-mm.
kind. Give me the cushiony love.
Exactly. Exactly. But yeah, and then
Next
the
up.
only other thing was the mom asked about kids and grandkids.
Yeah.
I know the brother said he was so excited to have a niece or nephew. I just hope that, assuming everything works out, that's kind of just Camille and Thomas's business, the pace
Mm,
in which they agree to, and okay, you've expressed what you want, but leave it at that. You have one good
yeah.
time to say it.
Yeah. The last thing I have on them is when they go to Mexico.
Hmm.
And you could see even more that he's starting to fall for her. But in front of everybody, he says, I struggle with vulnerability, but I already feel safe around you. I said, are we about to get another MAFS love story?
Don't get your hopes up too fast, girl. We're only on episode 4. You know how we do. We start off so hopeful.
they're the only they're the only ones I'm feeling hopeful about
Oh,
though.
yeah. If we were to pick
Okay.
one, definitely them so far.
We don't have options. Like if it's not them, who is it going to be? Carla and Juan?
I mean, so far, I feel like with Thomas and Camille, we can see why the experts match them.
Yes. Yeah.
The others, I have no clue.
And we can see longevity, I think, with
Hmm.
them. Okay. Let's go to Carla and Juan because they're the next couple that I have the least on.
Mm-hmm.
So, the major things that I picked up on this episode had to do with money. So initially, when they were talking at at breakfast,
Yeah, they were in
Juan,
bed, I think.
yeah, I thought that no, they were out of bed for their breakfast because I remember him doing a lot of serving. Like he was
Oh yeah, they
bringing
were
her,
on the couch,
yes,
and
on
yeah,
the
she
couch.
was like, "Oh yeah, can
Yeah.
you stir it for me?" The
Yes, which
coffee.
I do like when men serve their women, probably because like society has put so much pressure on women to do that. But I love seeing couples serving each other. Like,
Yeah,
sure, I can get your tea for you, and you don't have to. Like, that's I think a benefit of
that's how
partnership.
it should
But
be, a
yes,
partnership.
exactly. So, but they were talking about the juices that she buys. So she revealed to him that she buys juices, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you make the juice?" And she said, "No, I buy them from the store." And he goes, "Whoa, you must spend a ton on juice because each of those juices is like $10." And then wasn't it her diary cam that she was like,
Mhm.
"They're actually $13, but we don't have to mention that." I thought that was
Or
funny.
more. I think she was keeping it cute. In Chicago, those juices are probably 15, $16. She was still keeping it cute.
Oh man, yeah. So money is obviously going to be a big thing for this couple because not only did they discuss it at breakfast, but then what did you think about the family meetings?
So let's get into her meeting with his parents. And was it his friend? I don't think it was his sister. I think it was a friend.
I think
They're out
so.
at lunch or breakfast, but they're sitting down. Carla's being Carla, talking about how I think she started off how she manifested a person who plays an instrument. She talks to God a lot. Out of nowhere, his dad is like, "Okay, so how you make your money?" And he like the entire audience was just so thrown off. Like, okay, we know at some point a parent may ask, "Well, what do you do for a living?" I
Mhm.
don't think that that's out of the ordinary. Just maybe the timing and the way that it's asked. And
Yeah,
so
because
she's
it
like,
wasn't
"Oh,
what's your career or whether it was how do you make your money.
right." Now, I wonder. I'm gonna take a step back and say, okay, I don't know if English is their first language, so I
Mhm.
wonder if he chose the words that he did because of the language difference. Maybe I'm giving him too much grace.
I thought they spoke English just fine.
Their English is fine, but the words that you'll choose maybe
Yeah,
will be different if it's your first or second language. So it may have come off more harsh than what he intended for it to be.
I think
Maybe
he
that
meant
makes
what he
you.
said. I think he said
He
what
said what
he
he said.
said. And that's on Nene Leaks.
So she says she's a hairstylist, a yoga instructor, and a sound healer. So she's a hustler. And so it's so many words he says. So is it working out for you? Do you like it? Are you flying high? Is it going well?
And that's why I think he knew what he was asking.
Oh my gosh. And so he didn't seem to be impressed by her answer. Um and I don't know. It just felt like he jumped in too hot on something that's really not his business.
But I wonder because of how he came in hot and because of it felt intentional the conversation that he had. So I wonder if Juan said something after their meeting about, oh, I'm concerned about her finances or I'm concerned about her
Mm,
career. Like I know it's only been a day, but maybe
hmm.
something was said at the wedding or maybe a text was sent after. Maybe there's a family group chat where he mentioned it. It just seemed either the dad is really like that and the apple didn't fall far from the tree with Juan, or Juan said something that made the dad be like, no, we need to check this girl out.
Get to the bottom of it. Well,
Yeah.
she said, she's building her businesses, and I think the dad jumped to, well, what are you going to do for Juan, or how are you going to help Juan? And
Hmm.
she tries to allude to the fact that, well, we'll be supportive of each other. But she was saying that whenever she does have children, she wants to be able to have the time at home to be able to raise them. And the dad quickly says, well, I believe in 50-50. And Carla says, well, I think it just depends on the lifestyle. Juan and I basically need to get on the same page about what our ideas around how we'll be living, and if, in so many words, if one income could make sense. If he wants a mansion versus if I want to live in the forest, those are two very different lifestyles. And so I just don't think that that was a conversation for his parents to be having with her.
And I don't think Carla was being 100% honest, personally. I think she was doing what she needed to do for someone caught off guard that his parents were being as in depth about this conversation. I think she answered politely because she blatantly asked the dad, so you want 50-50? And she said, I am okay with 50-50, but I don't think she's okay with 50-50. I think, and rightfully so, in my opinion, but having a child for someone, that's at least 49% of your 50 right there. So I just think that's a large commitment. And so I'm not saying that people can't be 50-50, but I don't think what she's asking is unreasonable either.
No, and I think it's just a much bigger conversation around what would our lifestyle look like? How would he be a supportive partner as far as once kids are there? Like this conversation is not going to be hashed out at the dinner table with his parents. And I will say, it kind of I felt for Carla, and I think it's okay to want what you want. I think it's on the experts for pairing her potentially. I think we know, but we don't know for sure where they don't align in this area. So now it seems like she has to try to ask and beg for something that the other person doesn't want to give, as if it's unreasonable. And what I think is interesting is Juan wants kids, she wants kids. It's almost as if when this conversation is happening, that they aren't able to understand or see, well, things do shift and adjust once you have children.
Yeah.
So I didn't like that for her. And yeah.
I didn't like it either, but I feel like we, the audience, can kind of see where this is going already. I felt like
Yeah.
we can tell from their interactions with each other's families that they're just not compatible, because even in his meeting with her people, he doesn't seem convinced about her staying at home with kids, and he said, I need Carla to work, which I think one of the benefits of partnership in this economy, is if you decide to be a dual income family, right? I think that's wonderful. But the fact that kids just don't change anything for him, like he hasn't even considered and doesn't seem willing to even consider how big of a shift that might be. And it could just be, even if he had said, I wish I could provide a space where once she has kids, she could, but realistically, looking at the finances, it's not something that's possible right now. But I think the issue that I'm having with Juan is that there's no desire at all. And I think over time, she'll feel that, like, oh, this man doesn't even want to consider what I
Yeah.
would like.
Because with the sisters, they ask, okay, you have this thing that you're trying to launch. Great. Once, say it takes off, does that change things for you? Because and the other thing too, and I'm glad Carla brought it up, was lifestyle. Is some people are okay with, hey, we stay home, but we adjust our lifestyle for you to be able to do that. When he was saying like, oh, I'm gonna need her to work, I think it goes back to the question of, what are you willing to make work, and what are the sacrifices that you're willing to make while your children are young to give you your family the opportunity for their mom to be home with them.
Yes. So
So it's like, experts, this is a no-brainer. Why would you pair her with someone who doesn't have the desire to do that? Which I'm not saying that he's a bad person or anything
no.
like that. It's just pair him with someone who's more compatible. Even the way he described himself as, I'm more business minded. Well, maybe you should pair him with someone who's
Awesome.
who sees the value in being more business minded over being
Mhm.
spiritual and all those things. So,
Right. Absolutely. So I can already tell, it's not that what she wants is awful and what he wants is
mm-mm,
awful. It's that the two don't align.
mm-hmm.
Uh, all right. The only other thing is, Carla's third eye manifested Mexico. So, girl, she's a manifesting queen. She's the queen of
Mm.
manifestation because she got her singing man who plays an instrument. Her singing man who plays an instrument, because if you can call that singing, and then she got Mexico. All right.
Mm.
Let's move on to Ikechi and Imem. They
This
seem
couple
to
is
be
so hard.
vibing this episode, no?
No.
You don't think they seem to vibe better? Even the
No.
other couples mentioned that.
Ikechi puts on, he
Yeah.
likes to present a good image. And I'm not shocked. Two things. And I
Hmm.
know I'm jumping ahead, but I could see him wanting vacation sex with her. She's a beautiful woman. So that's that. The vibes are right. The drinks are flowing. Why not?
Hmm. Hmm.
Two, I could see him wanting to present well and be that image of the couple where things are going well.
Okay.
That's all I'm gonna say. I don't want to jump too far ahead.
Yeah. No. So I I agree with those things. I think when they were having breakfast, so we can start there. They both expressed their concerns about the other person finding them attractive. She didn't say anything to reassure him, but the thing that he didn't say anything to reassure her, but he said, "What I do know is when our skin touch, my God." And so I'm like, okay, it's getting a little physical on his end.
I wrote, neither one of them wrote anything to assure each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's because neither one of them are feeling it in that way. Like they're cool
Hmm.
people, but in that moment, I would think if my husband or partner said that to me, I'm like, oh, well, you're handsome. I love, like, I would naturally just jump in and reassure them. And I think with Ikechi, because he has a way with words and he has bars and he's a poet, I I just a lot of things he says, I think he just says it just to say it because it sounds good.
Okay. I find that to be fair. Let's talk about their family meeting. So sorry, I forgot about this until we just started talking about it. But okay, so Mem goes to meet with his family. And
Hmm.
was it his sister, one of his friends? I don't know who it was. But she's like, oh, he's an author. He has a social media following, which told me a lot. And, people recognize him on the street and they might want to say hi to him. So, how would you make sure that you're feeling secure in that situation? First of all, his following can't be that big. I ain't never heard of him. I'm just kidding. I'm joking.
And woman to woman, why are you asking what I'm going to do? And I love the way she answered it. It's not on me to make me feel comfortable. If he's doing what he needs to do, I'll
Yeah.
be fine. I'll be right beside him. But once again, this poetry and these books come up. This is the third time or fourth
Yes.
time. I can't even keep up.
Yeah. And then they talk about, oh, we feel like he's single because she asked that, right? Why
Why
is
is
he
he
still
still
single?
single?
Oh, we feel like he's looking for perfection, which for me would be a red flag just because we're coming off of Love is Blind. Like, to me, a character who was looking for perfection was like a Tim. And not to say that Ikechi and Tim are the same, but I'm just saying, like, people who are looking for perfection often are not gracious when people show themselves to be imperfect. And so I was like, I would be on edge, which she was when they finally came back together.
And that's the thing. I don't I think I could imagine being a friend or family member and you've watched a person from 25 to 41 be
Mhm.
single. And it's not even that, oh, you're still single and you're 41. It's fine to be single at 41. It's that
Yeah.
you haven't had one relationship to speak to in terms of experience in 12 years. I think for me, that's more of the red flag than him just being single at
Mm-hmm.
41. And so I could see a family or friend where on the outside, they're like, okay, man, well, what's going on? And you're describing why, well, she's not the one because of this, and she's not the one because of that. Whether you're looking for perfection or not, I think after that length of time, and it's always something, it's always a reason. I could
Mm-hmm.
see why it's perceived as, oh, you want a unicorn, or you want
Yeah.
someone that's so perfect. I could see why he may not think he's being that way, but he confirmed it later. But as a
Thank you.
outside person, he is being that way
Yeah.
because that's a long time.
Yeah, we'll talk about because I think we're on the same page with it gets addressed later on. But do you have any
Mhm.
notes from his meeting with her people? It seemed like they were also saying, we don't really know you like that. We'll keep our eye on you. And he said that's to be
Oh,
expected.
I have, yeah, I have things. So,
Okay.
when he meets with her friends, he asks, well, why didn't you get married? He goes back to this relationship when he was 25. And this is where we hear another version of what's happened with this broken engagement. He said, I was 25. I
Yeah.
was really young. It wasn't ready. I hurt someone but it was mutual to not get married. But then he admits that he cheated on this
Hmm.
person. And so I got to thinking back to when Imam sat down with his friends at the wedding.
Yeah.
And, but the way they described it was as if he was so hurt.
Yeah.
And so I was so confused. I didn't go back to watch the footage, but it's another version. And this is the first time we're hearing that there was infidelity on his part.
Hmm.
Um,
Did he
I
say that
wrote,
to the friends or did he say that to her later on? Because I didn't write that down when I think he said it to her in Mexico.
I think he did. He said it to her in Mexico. He didn't say it to the friends
Hmm.
in that meeting. But what I'm saying in total, it's a
Hmm.
different version than what we've heard before. It
Yeah.
with the friends at the wedding, it was, oh,
Hmm.
he was so hurt to where he just hasn't been able to find his groove and commit to another person. It turned him off from commitment.
Yeah.
Then now it's, oh, I was just young. It was me. No, no, no. With her cousin,
Cousin.
the
Hmm.
one who got him together, it was, oh, I was just young and it was mutual. And now it's mutual, but yeah, I did cheat.
Yeah.
So it's a third
So
version. Um, Go ahead.
no, I was actually gonna move it to the part where they met up after meeting with the family. So if you had anything else with the family and friends, you can.
So something that he said, I think they asked him, what have you learned, since being by yourself? The way
Yeah.
he answered it was odd for me. He was like, oh, I basically learned when people tell you who
Who
they
they
are,
are.
believe them. If they tell you they're crazy, believe that they're crazy.
Yeah.
But you've been single for the last 12 years. And
It's
then,
giving a lack of accountability. That's what it's
right.
giving.
And then they asked him, okay, this is your second go round in the MAFS process. And even that response was just too much. He basically said, well, I don't know if y'all know anything about the process, but it's rigorous, it's hard.
Yeah.
He's not
Which
saying anything reassuring. Okay, you must have really wanted to do it twice.
and if you watch the show, I don't know how rigorous. They say it's rigorous, but in what ways?
And then he says, oh, it's so hard to find marriage minded people. Sir, tell me where you find all these women in the age group of 30 to 40 who just aren't marriage minded. Where are these women? Don't believe
it
it.
He's the common denominator.
But yeah,
Uh
that's all for him. And her
so
family.
so I mean I like that Eminem brought it up to him, I'm not perfect, so if you're looking for a unicorn, I'm not that. And
Mhm.
he seemed to say some things that maybe reassured her. I think she's really trying to give the process a chance and trying to give him a chance. So she's open to the words that he's saying. We are less so as an audience. Or you guys let us know in the comments. Are we being too hard on him?
Well, because the way he somewhat agreed with her, but then he's like, but don't you want something that's dope?
Right. Who,
Don't
who
you
doesn't
want
want something dope? Who wants something
I don't
regular?
want. Yeah, who wants something regular? And so dude, you're not chasing a vibe. This is your wife.
He's a whole human being. And it's
Go to
like,
the club if you want a vibe.
even if you're dope, you're still imperfect, you know? And so you still need someone who's willing to work through things with you. So I
And
found that
then
annoying.
in that conversation, he also describes, I know I'm not everyone's cup of tea, but I want to be someone's crown royal on ice. Okay, you love Jill Scott. That's fine. Like
Oh, okay.
it I think he just says things just to say it.
Because
And
they sound nice.
yes, great talent to have, but it almost feels like this is a showcase for him.
I mean, he's a performer. Okay, I wrote this down, so I'm gonna say it. I said, I hate to sound like a man, but a man looks so cute without her makeup. Doesn't she look gorgeous?
She
Like,
has beautiful skin.
and
Woke
I
up
don't
like
think
this.
I'm sure she looks beautiful with makeup. I didn't love what the makeup artist did for her wedding day personally, but her skin is flawless. Like
Yeah.
she's chef's kiss.
Yeah, she's
Um,
very
very pretty.
naturally beautiful. She doesn't have to do a whole lot. You could just even like see her skin texture and
Right. Girl, you on camera with like she I think she was barefaced, but it couldn't have been more than a tinted moisturizer.
and it
Like,
didn't even look like that.
yeah. Okay. So after this, when they were preparing for the honeymoon and then they go on the honeymoon, I put that I thought he was mentioning the physical so early and in such specific ways that I felt he maybe only sees her physically. Like, I don't know that he's committed to the process, but I think it's the same thing that you said. He thinks maybe he could get something from her
Hmm.
over the course of the season or during the honeymoon, but that was the vibe I started to get as they were moving to the honeymoon.
And best case scenario, it was first day jitters on their wedding day, and he was just caught up and more subdued on his wedding
Yeah.
day. But all of what he was doing when they first got to the honeymoon, I'm like, well, where is this coming from?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's giving, I want vacation intimacy and I want to put on for the other couples, um, just to show that we're doing better than what we actually are.
Yeah.
He wants to look
Absolutely.
good.
Even when they sat down with the other couples that he said, "Oh, I got kissed at the altar." I said, "Okay."
I mean, she did kiss him. That kiss was.
Oh gosh. Okay, but they did seem to be having fun together. Everything else aside, they did seem to be having fun with each other, and I think it's all going to go downhill from here. So maybe let's just enjoy the lighthearted nature of their relationship. I hate that some of the other couples call them out as kind of the paragon of a MAFS couple because I didn't necessarily see them as that. Like, just because they're touchy and lovey dovey, that doesn't mean anything. Like, the paragon of a couple as a viewer wasn't even all upon each other, and that's Thomas and Camille. They were just sitting there like regular people.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else about that? Oh, so that is when he said, he's cheated before. And I said I would have stayed on him like Michelle stayed on David about living with his parents. But I think she moved on past that. I would have had follow-up questions like, okay, have you cheated since? Or, because I think this is what he's done, have you dragged women along who maybe have thought they were in a relationship with you, but you didn't put a title on it so that technically it wasn't cheating? Like, what have your intimate relationships been like since then? That's what I would have wanted to know. She moved past because she wants to see the good in people. And she said, I believe people can change. And that was 12 years ago. But what have you been doing in the 12 years? That's what, for me, would determine if there's been a change or not. So, yeah, I hate that she moved past that. And then she said something like, I've been known to move past red flags. Yeah. And you just did it again. So, yeah.
I could see why she did it. It's their honeymoon. I think part of me feels like, okay, she handled it good because this is only day two. And what are you really going to hash out on camera? Like, how are you really going to make progress on this?
Okay.
So, but I also feel like you can't let up too easy.
Yeah.
There's just a lot more dating that has to happen, and it doesn't need to be in the way that Michelle is doing it.
Interesting. Okay. I would say that's a nice segue, but I kind of want to end on David and Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's go into
Yeah.
Alan and Madison. All right.
I think I called it last week.
I feel like we both, yeah, said that we didn't know how into him she was, but that
I said it was the alcohol, baby.
his being into her maybe would help her loosen up. I think that's where we ended
Mm-hmm.
it last time.
Yep. Let's see.
Yeah.
You want to get
So
into? Let's get.
let's start
Go
with
ahead. You go.
their breakfast. So during breakfast, he talked
And
about how his relationship had been unhealthy at the end, and I would have loved to hear what made it unhealthy, how he contributed to it being unhealthy, or if he thinks it was just the other person. Like I think he was the one who
mm-hmm.
said that he had gone to therapy, but a year and a half ago
Mm-hmm.
wasn't that long. So it would be hard for me to believe that he's done a complete 180 from whatever was unhealthy at the end of that relationship to now. And if this is the first relationship he's had since that year and a half ago, now he's going to be forced to put into practice the things that he's learned into therapy. So I think there's a learning curve that she would need to anticipate if this is his first real relationship after an unhealthy and toxic situation.
Right. I'm also not surprised that he jumped right into something. He seems eager to have and find his person. And so when he was just kind of like, well, she said, oh, well, it's been 4 years for me. He's like, yeah, well, it's only been a year and a half for me. And,
Mm-hmm.
when you want something, you go after it. And part of me agrees where there isn't going to be an exact amount of time where you're going to be
True.
ready. And I can understand you being, I think, is he 32,
He
31,
is 35.
35? I could see him being 35 and feeling like, I don't want to spend 4 years waiting and waiting and waiting to
Mm-hmm.
find my person. So I can
Yeah,
see it from both sides.
which is fine. So I don't think a year and a half ago was too short of a time. I just think he probably hasn't done a complete 180, and whatever he's learned in therapy, this is kind of his first time trying it out in a relationship. Like, it's okay to feel like you're healed when you're just there with your therapist, but then once things have to be put into practice, it's a different ball game. So he needs to be mindful, like,
Hmm.
hey, I have to put into practice the things that I've learned, and she maybe also should proceed with caution.
And I want to hear what was it? What was going on?
What made it toxic? Uh,
Yeah.
okay. But she seems to just be happy that he went to therapy, which to each her own. Okay, so the family meetup. Whoa. Madison's dad, like the first, he came with an agenda, and the first opportunity, it wasn't even a good segue. He just said, so speaking about the physical,
Yeah.
you would
The
need to
wedding
get
night.
tested. I think it's very important that you get tested. And so he's like, yeah, I got tested 3 weeks ago and that. And he's like, yeah, that's great, but she still needs to see the results. I don't know.
That was out of line for me. That was
I
way
don't
out of
know.
line. It is because number one, I think that's a conversation you have with your daughter. This woman isn't 22 and getting married. She's in her 30s. And were you there fact checking every pretty boy she decided to move forward with physically? No. So I understand having your concerns as a parent, but I also think, I don't know, there's just boundaries, I think, when it comes to
Hmm.
discussing intimacy and your parent. To me that's something between a husband and a wife. I think he crossed the line.
Okay. I don't. So Alan brought up the whole, like, physical thing. And so I didn't think it was necessarily inappropriate to say, yeah, I think, since you guys are strangers, it would make sense to get tested and show her the results. I wouldn't have wanted them to harp on it for too long, which I don't think they did, but as a father, maybe trying to protect his daughter and you're a stranger, we've never met you, I didn't think it was that terrible of a thing, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, if my parent did that, I would just say that's a conversation you have with me. On top of the fact, it just seems like a conversation you'd have with a 16-year-old. Safe sex.
Or a stranger.
Obviously, sex, maybe, but I don't know. It just felt odd and out of place. And
Okay.
you yourself as a parent don't know all the doings of your own child. Like the
No, that's,
conversation could have went so left. Like
yeah.
you don't know your
Well,
own what your own kids are up to. So
but if he's a dad who thinks of his daughter in any type of way, and he might have had the conversation with the daughter, but maybe he just wants his new son-in-law to know, hey, like, whatever y'all do is your business, but since you're someone who we don't know, I think this is a safety precaution. I don't know. You guys let us know in the comments if you thought like he crossed a major boundary, or if it was like, yeah, it's awkward, but it makes sense. I don't know. It wasn't
I
that
don't
big of a
know.
deal to
It
me.
it what it reminds me of is how you hear
Mhm.
about in these older homes how these older people still be getting it in and spreading around stuff. It's like you'd never go to your parent or grandparent and be like, "Well, make sure you're being safe." Or maybe
Well,
you
yes,
would. It's just
because it's the opposite of like age, you know, but
yeah. I guess
it's a parent, not a
because
child.
of their age, I'm like your child has had all of their 20s and halfway through their 30s. Okay,
Well,
dad.
she's 29, but still, yeah, all her 20s.
Okay, yeah.
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 Anyways,
I don't know. I understand being a concerned parent. Um, I just would have that conversation with my child one on one and not bring it up to their spouse in the one of
hmm,
the first few meetings
yeah.
around them. I just I
You
couldn't
let
do
us
it.
know, what y'all think. Man to man, I don't know. Fathers say a whole bunch of off the cuff stuff to people who are trying to date their daughter, so maybe that's why I didn't think it was the worst thing, and the delivery of it was very, direct, but not rude or mean. So maybe that helped.
Yeah, I
Who
mean,
knows?
Alan took it in stride. He's like, "Well, I'm clean. I'm good.
Yeah. And the dad was
You don't
like,
have to worry about me."
but we need evidence of evidence. Okay, no, but I wonder if Alan has been feeling like Madison is not attracted to him, because unless he's just insecure or maybe wanted to make sure, I wonder why he would ask, so am I her usual type?
That's such a random question.
It's
I think he saw. I don't know. It could be either way. It could be he saw something or
Mhm.
observed something, um, or it could just be an insecurity within him. Because I was
Yeah.
wondering why would he ask her that?
And the answer, I audibly gasped when the sister answered. I was like, "Oh my god, why would she say that to this man?" She was like, she said, she has a type, pretty boy, and you're exactly the opposite of that. I said, "Dang, you couldn't even try to spare his feelings a little bit, sis."
I know. Man, these families got to do better. They got to do better. Like even if I were in her position and I
Hmm.
noticed this guy looks completely different, the way I would have jumped in and said, "It don't even matter. The guy she was usually dating didn't marry her. It didn't work out. So
Yeah.
you couldn't say anything better
Or
than
I would be
that."
like, "Oh, why? What made you ask that?" I would put it back on him. Like, did she say something, or has she been acting a certain way? So maybe we can coach you through it. But to
She
say,
couldn't wait
even if
to confirm.
Even if she could have just said, "Oh, well, she does have a type," and you don't necessarily align with that, but she seems very open to you. You don't have to say, "Oh yeah, she has a type. It's a pretty boy, and you an ugly boy." Like that's essentially what she said. But yeah, now with Madison and his family, this is where I started to see the hesitancy because
Mm-hmm.
she didn't want to reassure them about anything. She was very careful not to say, "Hey, I'm all in," or "I'm committed to this process." And in her diary cam, she said stuff like, "I don't want to hurt his mom." And so that led me to believe she's already not feeling this and doesn't want them to think this is forever because it ain't.
She sobered up, and I think once she also saw how emotional the mom was, I think that
Yeah.
solidified her not giving any further commitment.
Yeah, because on one hand, it's good to take things slow. So at first I was like, is she just being a realist and wanting to take things slow and get to know him, or is she just checking out not so slowly? But in my opinion, she can't be surprised that he came in hot and wanted this to be forever. Like she can't be surprised by the things that his family is telling her because this is married at first sight.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I'm not saying that she was wasted. I think she was just trying to enjoy her wedding day. I think when she first saw him, she may have felt a certain way as far as maybe the attraction, but was like, "Hey, I'm here, gonna party, dance, have a good time. What can I do about it?" Upon sleep, now you wake up the next morning and it's hitting her.
And
So
the broccoli boxers didn't help. Okay, so they talk about taking things slowly after that. When she says pretty boy, do you think she's talking about someone like David? He's not overly groomed, like he has the beard and stuff, but he does hit the gym. He's very careful about his look. I'm
I
trying to
think
figure out who
she
does the couple swap.
I think she's used to a mixture of a gym rat and a Juan, where they're well groomed,
Mm,
but they also spend a lot of time at the gym. She, I
okay.
think, spends a lot of time at the gym. So I think she's used to
Yeah.
being with the gym guys. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You
Yeah.
know what was disgusting to me? So not only did she put her luggage on the bed, but she had her outside shoes on the bed when she got on it to sit on her luggage. And I was like, yuck. But that has nothing to do with, with assessing the couple, so we could move on. Um, so I could hear her expressing her regret for the whole thing when they were with the other couple. She said, the reality. Huh?
I was just saying, I know.
Yeah. She's like, reality is that we have to be around each other a lot. Like, girl, when they said married at first sight, what you thought it was? Yeah. And then,
That whole segment of her and Michelle, but we won't get there yet. I just
mhm.
felt like they were talking way too much about their anxiety
Mm.
and how they're so overwhelmed. And what did y'all think this was? You left it up to a stranger to pick your life partner. And so I don't know. I understand you having your feelings. I didn't appreciate it being expressed in a group setting the way that she did it, at least.
Yeah, and I felt like he changed his tone to match hers, probably to spare himself of the embarrassment. But he
Mm-hmm.
seemed very surprised. Like I thought we were moving in a good direction. I thought we were doing
Mm-hmm.
well.
He
And now
was.
I'm hearing she's not really feeling it like that. And I also felt like, because this is me trying to be detective and see who the couple swap of the season is based on the previews, but I felt like Madison was laughing a little too hard at David's jokes. They weren't even that funny. She was really interacting with him, responding and like picking up where he left off.
Mhm.
So I'm watching those two. And then I think it'll be an
And
easy, yeah. Go ahead.
he's a gym guy. You know, he's a huskier dude, but he you can tell he be in the gym every
Yeah.
day and drinking protein shakes.
And it'll be easy because his person doesn't want him. Oh, I mean, yeah, she doesn't. Um, okay. And then later on, when Alan and Madison had their dinner, she admitted to being weird and she apologized for it. So I guess, which is very respectful of him, he's been walking on eggshells, especially now that he knows that she's not fully comfortable.
Hmm.
And she's saying that the way to change that is for him to try to like touch her more and be more intimate. But it's like, unless he's a weirdo, what man would want, like, you're not giving warm, inviting vibes. So why would he bypass that and still be trying to touch you?
That, and even though he's been the one to ask, "Hey, am I usually your type?" Because even when they met up at a bar, when they were still back at home, he asked her
Mm-hmm.
again about her typical type. She said it's not him, but she at that time she said there was some attraction that was there. So it's also where your sister or whoever it was said he wasn't your type. You've been acting weird, confirmed he wasn't your type.
Yeah.
You don't want him to start acting weird because it may set y'all back further. So what is he supposed to do? Continue to pursue someone who is saying that, yeah, you're not my type and you're acting weird? I don't like that. It just feels like she's putting him on a hamster wheel
Yes.
to want to be with her, knowing that she really don't want him like that.
Yes. And you know who else is putting someone on a hamster wheel? So we can get through this before the sun goes down and I lose all my light.
Yeah.
Oh, but Michelle with David. I'm gonna say this up front. I wish Michelle would just, instead of asking the questions, just state what she would need. So why are you wasting your time being like, oh, you like living with your parents? Oh, I just am not comfortable. Just say, listen, that's a deal breaker for me. I want someone who's more independent and on their own. So it would be urgent for you to move out of your parents' house if we're to make this marriage work. Like, I can't do it with you at your parents. But yeah, she's just beating around the bush a little. Maybe not beating around the bush, but almost being
I feel like
condescending
she's
to
being
him in
very
some way.
direct.
Yeah, yeah, but like almost being condescending, and not just her, but her friends and family too. So we could start from when he went to the gym, and she just could not believe that he went to the gym. Um,
Which
they talked about.
and
Go
some
ahead.
people and people are into the. It just felt like one more thing that she doesn't like about him. Okay, some people care about their health and fitness. Y'all don't have to be aligned in that way, but why is it a problem
For him to
that
go to
he
the
still
gym.
wants to maintain his fitness routine while on vacation? That's a great thing. If
Yeah,
I would think, oh, my person cares about their health.
yeah. So I did think she was asking the real questions though, because she clearly doesn't like his work schedule. And so she's like, well, okay, well, when are we going to see each other? I think she's just finding things that she doesn't like about him because she's not looking for things that she could like about him. And that might be an issue.
I'm gonna go back to. I don't think. I think this is a snowball effect.
Hmm.
I think it started from when she first saw him. This
Hmm.
is not the light skinned black man she envisioned. So
Okay.
everything was downhill from there. So, and I think the smoking and the living in the parents' basement sealed the deal. But
Torpedoed
I
it.
think her
Yeah.
nitpicking and finding you went to the gym this morning. Oh, you work these shifts. When am I ever going to see you? So now everything is a problem. I just don't think she's attracted to him.
But that's okay. So when I say beating around the bush, maybe that's what I like. Just say, I'm not attracted to you. I don't necessarily want to continue with this. Like, if you're going to be so direct about him living at home, be direct about that because you know where you are already. And you're 38 years old. Like, if she were 22, I feel like, younger people sometimes they tend to stay in situations that don't serve them. But you're 38. You already know this isn't it for you. Back out. So even when, after the families, when he was like, oh, so are you even coming to the honeymoon? And she's like, yeah, I'm in this. No, you're not. Don't go to the honeymoon, girl. You already know.
And the reason why she's not giving solution oriented questions is
Hmm.
because even if he fixed those things, she doesn't want him.
Fair.
So,
Fair. I
yeah.
felt like his family was trying to sell him because, like, with the thing with Michelle,
Hmm.
obviously, she said she doesn't eat in bed, and he said he snacks in bed. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know. Maybe he needs somebody who's like younger and less established, but it felt like his family was trying to sell him to her. Like, this is why he's great.
Because I think they sense his enthusiasm to make this work versus on, her family side, they already knew about the meltdown she had at the wedding. They
Mm.
knew how she's feeling, even though they presented it to him that they didn't know that he was living in the basement. So that's why his family is like, oh, well, let's hype him up. I
Hmm.
don't even know that it's age. I think they just need to find someone that he's more compatible with.
Mm.
I just don't know that Michelle is it. I don't
Yeah.
even know that it's age.
But speaking of people who are direct, the sister, or is it the friend? I appreciated her
Mhm.
being like, "So you're not all in? Like, just tell us like that. That's what I need you to be direct about. Are you not all in so that we can have one less couple this season and focus on the four, get into decision day? Like, that's what I want to know." And of course, she
Mhm.
obviously isn't in all the way, but she was trying to be polite. Um, do you
Right.
want to talk about his meeting with her
But yeah.
people? 'Cause did,
Yeah. Let's
okay.
get to it.
What did you think about it? I didn't like it, Miosha, honestly.
Yeah. So whenever he meets with her family, they ask, how do you think she feels? He says, oh, she's feeling overwhelmed. I feel like that's a cop out. It's overwhelming for everyone. I agree. He did give her a lot of information, but I stand by if she were attracted to him, she would focus on a path of how this could work versus nitpicking every little thing.
Hmm.
He tells them that they live in that he lives in the basement, and I don't know if it was the sister or the friend, but the way she shook her head in this man's face,
Hmm.
I said rude.
They were very rude, and they didn't ask any questions really to get to know who is he outside of the living situation. What are you
Because they
interested in? They
they
don't.
don't care. They spent the entire time telling him he's too much. You need to calm down. You're doing this. You're
You're
doing
too
that. You need to
pushy
pump
for
the
her.
brakes. I'm sorry, and
And
I
he,
am not for this man's living situation,
right.
but there's no way that you meet someone in an intimate setting for the first or second time and you make
Hmm.
it your business to tell them how you need to be this way, and this way to make it work. Your
Yeah.
family member signed up for this.
Tell her to relax. Tell her, hey, yeah, when you're in a relationship with someone, sometimes you do have to push past it and get over stuff sooner. You can't take 5 years to process. Not, I mean, it's only been a few days, but you sign up for a process that is expedited.
Yeah.
So you can't take 5 years to process. So yeah,
No.
they weren't even trying to help him. Like, some couples will say, oh, yeah, I think you just need to. I mean, some families will say, I think you need to do this because she doesn't respond to this well, whatever. And they said some of that, but it felt like they weren't trying to help him. They were just trying to, like, point out what's wrong with him.
And
And
something
yeah.
else I picked up on, it
Hmm.
keeps coming up how independent she is. And side note, when black women talk about being independent, it's perceived in a different way, but we're not going to go there in this conversation.
He's
Let's
writing for his
refocus.
blonde queen, though. He's taking it all like it's no big deal. Yeah.
So, okay, she's Miss Independent. And so, what I gather from that is the reason why they didn't try to help him is because they're trying to coach him on just how to fit into her life and what she
Mhm.
already has going on.
Yes.
And I wrote, does Michelle really want a life partner or want to be partnered? We even see later, and I know I'm jumping ahead, but even when she's getting on the van, he's like, hey, let me help you with that. Girl,
Mhm.
you're about to fall backwards carrying these heavy suitcases onto the bus. Don't
Yeah.
even want help with that. So I'm not saying that he's a perfect person, but from what I've seen of Michelle and how her family talks about her, it
Mhm.
doesn't seem that she's a person that's really seeking partnership. More
Hmm.
so, how can this puzzle piece fit into what I already have going on? And if it doesn't, I keep it moving.
Yeah.
So,
Whew. Well. All right. So then they meet up afterwards, and she's like, oh, did they hit you with the hard questions? And I think he accepted the feedback well and said he'll slow down the pace. He's doing everything he can do, I think, to make this work. He's being nice, he's being gentle, and even the way that he asked her about, okay, so I'm worried about the honeymoon, is that something you're thinking about pulling out? And so yeah, even she admitted it. You're saying the right things, now it's on me to deal with it. But yeah.
What was it, the sit down at the restaurant where she just has to tell him about the meltdown she had on the wedding day?
I think it was then.
Yeah, where, okay, girl, just come out and admit that you wanted to tell him how you had a few meltdowns on the wedding day. And naturally, he's taken aback because he seemed to have a great time. I just didn't understand why he felt the
So
need to
oblivious.
tell, yeah, to tell him that. And he even apologized, which I don't think that he needed to, but
Yeah.
he's saying all the things. And I agree, action is required, but there hasn't been enough time for anything to change. And up until this point, he's not presented, hey, I need you to move into my parents' basement with me or anything weird.
No.
He's like, no, we'd start our life together. So either you're going to be open to it or you're not.
And I think he talks too much for her. I think she wants a man who's like more poised and less chatty. But he's just not that. He's a regular man. He's from around the way. And so I don't think she likes that about him. I think she sees herself as above him in some ways. But later on, she was talking about, this was in Mexico, I think, like, is your mommy doing everything? Even the use of the word mommy, I thought was just a dig. And, he is answering her. He's like, I cook, I clean, I have my responsibilities. I've lived outside of the home before. Like, I think he's being very patient and understanding with her. And ultimately, she got to what her issue is. I don't understand why you are choosing that, because I wouldn't choose that. And there's the
And
problem.
I think
Like,
that's valid, but the way you keep dragging this along and given how it's been 24 hours, what were you expecting him to say or change in 24 hours? Things won't. And I think this is where it's like, okay, you have a very valid concern, but now my perception of you is changing based off of the way that you're talking to him and how you keep beating a dead horse. Okay, girl, let your hair down, enjoy a few drinks, or just go home. One or the two. Harping on this man about still living at home. Oh, it's just not attractive. Is that she couldn't wait to tell him how she doesn't
yeah.
see it as attractive. I think he knows that, given how many times you've brought it back up. And what did she also say? She said, "I'm just not getting the independent vibe from you."
Yeah.
What else is he supposed to say?
And that's where, for me, I think she just needs to say, you've asked enough questions, why he's living there, that he can move on his own. Just say, you living with your parents won't work for me. I want to move forward with this if that's the case, but she clearly doesn't. I want to move forward with this, but if we're going to make this work, that has to be, something that is in the past. I'm sorry, but that'll have to change. Like, if she could just say that now, that she has all the information, and stop bringing it up every single conversation that she has with anybody, I would appreciate it.
And I think if she truly wanted him, she would have more in-depth conversations, probably off camera. Well, what do the finances look like? Are you able to secure your own place? Like, is your credit okay to get a lease? I would
Yeah.
be digging to those types of details and not just, oh my gosh, you live at home. Oh my God. Girl, you're gonna have to learn to dig more under the surface
Yeah.
and spread out the conversations versus just belittling him at this point. Because as much as you want to harp on how it looks bad on him to be living at home at 36, the way you're navigating this situation, it's looking bad on you.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's what we have for this episode. Y'all let us know in the
oh,
comments what?
who do you think is the cheating couple? You mentioned you think it's Madison and David. Okay.
That's who I think. Or, okay, so I'll give you three couples that I think it would possibly be. It definitely has to include Alan and Madison. And it would
Yeah,
either
from what we've
be,
seen.
yeah, Ikechi and Amem or David and Michelle, which I don't think Michelle wants anybody on this show. So I think it would be like a David. So that's what I think. What do you
I
think?
could see it being David. I could see it being David. I don't know about Madison. I don't know. I'd be surprised by that. And if it is her daddy,
After her toast, you heard the type of toast that she was given. Like Alice,
I don't
Madison seems like, not me putting their names
she
together,
does.
Allison.
She does, but then part of me is like, man, she's been talking a good game about how she really wants commitment, really wants to find her person. And the way her daddy came in hot, asking somebody else about their results, I would hope you're not on here cheating on your new spouse.
I think it's her. I think it's her. And if I'm wrong, of course I'll say I'm wrong and I apologize.
Yeah,
But that's, if we're
it's too
speculating.
early.
Yeah.
Yeah, at this point. Okay.
Yeah, and we already talked about our predictions. Like the only couple that I think I would feel comfortable saying will say yes on decision day is maybe Thomas and Camille. Maybe.
I agree. And if anything, mm, I can't even see the other one saying a yes just to do it. Yeah, we
Yeah.
only have one couple.
All right. Well, we will see y'all on the next one. Let us know what you thought about this episode and these couples. Yeah, see y'all next week. Bye.
Bye.